That afternoon in the loft was pretty heavenly. Ben always gets very animated after sex. I'm the opposite. For some reason, he wanted to tell me all about Ozu and interior shots, something he'd been working out about the poetics of space. And it was fascinating, but I was having a hard time responding coherently. I was still in a fog of sexual satisfaction. Fortunately, he didn't seem to notice. And then he sat up and said, "By the way, do you want to have dinner with my friend Matt and his wife? I forgot to tell you. They asked if we wanted to stop by around 7. It was already 6. It was all right with me. I showered off in Naeem's austere black slate bathroom and climbed back into the slinky orange dress I'd worn. I had a little Ziploc bag of edible flowers in my purse. I'd grown them on my balcony, and I brought them thinking Ben might want to eat them in a salad. Now I thought this might be a good gift for this couple. I was intrigued that Ben was taking me to a dinner party, apparently as his date. We hadn't really appeared out publicly together, certainly not as a couple. At this point, partly on account of some media speculation regarding a few famously gorgeous women Ben had been spotted with, there tended to be photographers at his official appearances. This was just dinner with friends, but even in these more intimate contexts, we tried to avoid attention. I think we both knew some people might consider it a little inappropriate, our being together, but our discretion wasn't about that. I'm pretty sure that both of us would adamantly defend the right of any woman or man to find a personal or erotic connection with whomever she or he might choose. But though we were lovers, we rigorously avoided being a couple. When it started to feel like we were one, we both had a tendency to recoil. Ben had forgotten the address, but he knew his friend's phone number. He asked me to call from the taxi to get the house number. A woman with a slight accent picked up. Ben hadn't told me her name, so I somewhat awkwardly said, "Hello, this is Ben's friend. We're on our way over, but we forgot the address." She told us, and we pulled up. We rang the doorbell. Bjork opened the door. Ben, of course, had neglected to tell me we were having dinner with Matthew Barney and Bjork. Julian Schnabel was also there. He was telling Matthew Barney a big, evidently funny story when we walked in. He paused when he saw Ben and came running over to give him a bear hug. Bjork was soon affectionately stroking his hair and telling him how well he looked. Ben and Matthew Barney exchanged some kind of special, complicated handshake. They all turned to me politely and smiled when Ben introduced me. I handed Bjork the Ziploc bag of slightly wilted flowers and said, "These are edible. If you want, you can put them in a salad." She was very nice. She ran over to Schnabel and said, "Julian, look, Vivian brought us edible flowers. Here, eat one." They each took a little limp blossom and chewed on it. They both raised their eyebrows and smiled. The dinner was very nice. Although he's soft-spoken and his English is a little stilted, Ben likes to tell long stories. Sometimes you wonder where they're going, but in the end there's usually an interesting, unexpected image or a fragment of poetry or something that makes them memorable. Everyone seemed fascinated. Then Bjork started to tell an anecdote about her childhood in Iceland, but I noticed that Ben seemed to be spacing out. I think he was listening to the music playing in the background. It was the soundtrack of Pierrot le Fou. Quite abruptly, he said to our hosts, "Well, thank you very much for this lovely dinner. I think Matt is tired, and we should let you get some rest." Schnabel looked surprised, but since Bjork and Matthew Barney didn't seem to be objecting, he said he'd walk out with us. We embraced on the sidewalk, and Schnabel hailed a cab. Ben walked me home. Naturally, I've changed the identities of the generous, attractive celebrities at the dinner party. I'm sure Bjork is also very nice, but I've never actually had dinner at her house. Why should it matter anyway that you'd recognize their names? Why should I have felt at all out of place that evening? Or 2 days later, when Ben and I were flipping through art magazines at Naeem's loft, and Lou Reed and Laurie Anderson suddenly buzzed up because they Knew Ben was in town and couldn't resist popping by. Ben stayed in New York for a week, and we saw each other every day, but slept apart. In addition to these purely social visits, he had a few informal meetings with curators and dealers. I tried not to appear overly expectant. He came by our place one afternoon and spent about an hour looking at strange animation sites on the internet with Sandro. Sandro asked him to tag a DVD with a Sharpie. They like each other. Sandro doesn't tell his friends his mother's sleeping with Tuong Van Bin. I don't think it's because he thinks it would be unseemly because of our age difference. Sandro and his friends are very open-minded about this kind of thing. I think he just doesn't want to look like he's bragging. Also, I've asked him to be discreet.